How much does the average American need to feel comfortable in 2026? The answer surprised me. You be the judge. We're going to share the numbers and break down what you need to take away.
Reeves, I am so excited to talk about this because I thought that the numbers that we got, the information that was put out by the Economic Policy Institute was absolutely asinine. It blew my mind. We've had a lot of folks over these past couple years talking about inflation. We've heard this. The costs of the things that we buy on a daily basis are getting more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. And so I think a lot of people are feeling that sort of strain. They're feeling that it's tightening up. But when it comes to, okay, what is actually required? What does it take to actually feel comfortable? What does it take to be able to make ends meet? Some of the numbers that we found in our research, I just thought, in my opinion, absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, this is a specific study based on data from the Economic Policy Institute. And obviously, like Bo said, this is on everybody's mind. Like, we are interested to see what they came up with. But the conclusion that they came to, so here's the first number, is that a single adult needs an income of $106,745 per year.
So say it again. If you are a single individual with no dependents, in order for you to live comfortably on average in America, the income required to do that is $107,000.
But wait, the numbers get bigger. So if you add two adults, like a couple in a household with no kids, the number goes up to above $138,000. And then if you add a kid to the mix, we are at $194,000 of income to live comfortably. 3 kids, they say $278,000. So we are almost to $300,000 for a typical American family to quote unquote live comfortably, according to this study. What do you think of this?
We're going to talk about this in a moment, but we know what the average income or the median income for most Americans are. So what this is suggesting is that if this is what it takes for one adult to live comfortably, or this is what it takes for a household with a child or 2 children or 3 children to live comfortably, then that must mean that the vast majority of Americans are not living comfortably, because the vast majority of Americans fall below these income thresholds. And I just refuse to believe that. Now, I'm not minimizing.
So let's pause this for a second. And I disagree with this gentleman, because the key is about living comfortably. That's the kind of quotes here, living comfortably. And what we're going to do after we kind of listen to this video, we're going to break it down and see, is it really true what they're saying regarding living comfortably? And I know comfortably is subjective, but this is, to me, they hit it on the nail on living comfortably, on all the different things that you have to have to live comfortably here in the United States. So let's continue to have this play out, but kind of give you my thought process, and we'll break it down in just a second.
The fact that, yes, inflation is a real thing, and yes, the cost of the things that we use on a daily basis have gotten more and more expensive. But the idea that in order for you to be comfortable, in order for you to live the life that you want to live, in order for you to have a beautiful today and a great big beautiful tomorrow, you have to hit these income numbers, I think is just out there. I think it's totally wonky. Now, when they did the study, they did acknowledge there was some variance by geography. And we know that all the time. Like, if you live in one of the higher cost of living areas part of the country, obviously what's needed from an income standpoint would likely be higher. But what they found is that for a single individual, again, single individual, no dependents, the average income needed was about $107,000. But when you look at lower cost of living areas, the average income needed was as low as about $87,000. So that's what, $20,000 less, notably in like states like Mississippi and, of course, Ohio. No, I'm not doing it. I'm a bulldog. You think I'm going to do that on air? Not a chance.
Caleb responded.
Not a chance. But then there are other.
Yes, of course, everyone's going to say, like, what about big cities in California? And yes, cost of living there is much higher. We get that. But the numbers here, they get outrageous, just to be really frank, in my opinion. In California, a single adult to live comfortably needs as high as $163,000 of income. And then if you add in the kids, like a 3-child household, according to the study, allegedly needs $480,000 in California to live comfortably.
So if you are a family of 5 in the state of California, you need $500,000 in order to live comfortably. And what I think is so frustrating is that
You guys, I'm originally from San Diego, one of the most expensive places to live in the United States. And I have a family of 5. I would 100% agree comfortably. If you want to live comfortably, once again, that's the key phrase here. You're going to have to need a lot of money to live in San Diego. And what these people need to kind of understand is if you're starting from scratch, right? You do not have any home equity. You do not have the bank of mommy and daddy. You're starting from scratch. How much does it really take to live comfortably in some place like San Diego? I think it takes a lot of money to live comfortably in a place like Houston, which I currently live at. Almost every major city here in the United States is going to meet this requirement to live comfortably. And we'll break that down once again in a second, but let's continue to listen.
I think that this could be very discouraging.
Yes, I think that's why I'm getting a little heated about it. Like what percentage of people is making $500,000?
It's not that
even in California.
We did a show a number of years ago, and it was, hey, what do you think? What percentage of the population makes X dollars? And if I remember the numbers right, the average American thinks that 1 in 4 people make $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year, and in reality, it is like a fraction of 1%.
So much lower.
Like it is so much lower than that. And so I think that these numbers become discouraging. So what we said in true money guy fashion is let's dive in. Let's actually see
why did they come up with these numbers?
How are they quantifying? What are they calling comfortable? And when we actually dug into the numbers, I think it got interesting. I think what the Economic Policy Institute defines as comfortable is different than what I would define as comfortable.
Same. For instance, there is some hope hidden in this data. The estimated costs were high. Like, for example, transportation costs alone for a single adult were over $1,000 a month. So you can see how that automatically just inflates all of these numbers. It's assuming you're spending a lot on like car payments and gas and
well, is that true? Right? Most Americans have to drive to work, and sometimes to be able to buy a house these days, you have to drive far, right? You got 30, 40, even an hour drive. Some people have longer than that to get to a good employment situation. So that's gas. Let's say $100 a week. Well, that's $400 there. If you have a car payment, let's say your car payment, you don't even have $1,000 car payment, which some people do. Say your car payment is $500. Well, that's already $900 in a month that you are putting towards your transportation, right? And that's not including any maintenance. Cars having issues. If you don't have a brand new car, and if you have a brand new car, you have to change tires and things like that. These numbers, in my opinion, are realistic.
Like public transport, that's a lot. Especially like in perpetuity, like for a significant amount of time.
And there might be a season where you might spend $1,000 a month, but in order to be comfortable, you have to spend $1,000 every single month on car payments, every single month on gas, every single month on utilities. That just seemed high, but I didn't think that was even the most remarkable number. There was another little nugget that they put in there, and again, this is what they are defining as living comfortably. They said that the discretionary spending for a single adult would need to be somewhere around $2,600 a month. $2,600 a month in discretionary spending.
Just whatever you want.
Just fun money. And I think that for a lot of Americans, that would be a big fun money budget.
Yes.
Okay, so let's break that down. Okay, you are single. You are living in a major city and you have friends, you're going out on a weekly basis, maybe eating out, things like that, right? So let's just break that down. Let's take $2,600 and that's divided by just 4 weeks, a 28 day period. Well, that's $650 a week, right? $650 a week. You guys, I remember years ago going out once or twice a week in San Diego in the gas lamp area to party, me and some friends. And I remember spending, darn near that amount, if not that amount, back then, right? And we're talking about, you know, 20 years ago. We're talking about 20 years ago. Eating out with friends, going to get drinks, going to clubs, going to bars, you know, doing any other type of entertainment, going to watch movies, going on dates, all of that. Can you spend $650 a week doing that? Absolutely. And you're talking about living comfortably? Yes, that's what we're talking about, living comfortably. We're not talking about barely getting by, which a lot of Americans are.
And listen, if you have that, if that's your goal, awesome. That would be great. But to say that that's what you need to be comfortable, that's a bridge too far
It's
for
a
me.
bridge
That
way
is
too
a
far.
giant discretionary spending income for a single individual, like just for one person, just on whatever they want, in my opinion.
And so what I would encourage you guys to recognize is that maybe you're not at one of these incomes. It doesn't mean that you're behind. Remember, the median household income is about $84,000. So what this is saying is on the median, there are very few households in America that are actually living comfortably. And I just don't think that that's the case. But we know that personal finance is exactly that. It is personal. And so you have to define for you and your life, what does comfortable mean? So what are some of the things that you can do? How can you take this information and what can you do when you think about creating a comfortable lifestyle for yourself? Well, I think that you have to focus on the things that you can control. What stays inside of your onus of control. And the very first of those is just simply living within your means.
Yep.
If you don't have a large income, if you don't have a lot of discretionary cash flow, maybe spending $1,000 a month on transportation would not be inside your means. Maybe having a $2,600 a month slush fund or fund money fund is not inside your means.
And
so you
I
have to
think
figure out what that means for you.
It's important to note that that not being in your means is very, very normal. Like that is the vast majority of Americans are not able to spend $1,000 a month on a car payment.
Yep.
Very often.
Nope.
And so, yeah, like living within your means isn't always super popular, but it's powerful. Powerful stuff if you just make those decisions when you make those big purchases like a car, can make all the difference.
Okay, so for time purposes, and because I jacked up setting this up to correctly today, a number of you, if you just got on the call, you know that we did not have audio for a second. So, but let's kind of break this down really quickly, and let's do some easy math here. Okay, let's say you make $100,000, not the 107 or 106 that was pointed out, but I just say for easy math, you make $100,000 a year, right? That nice six-figure number that a lot of people point to that is a good amount to make here in the United States. Well, let's break it down. And let's break it down as if you were a single person, not someone that has a kid or two kids or three kids like myself. Let's see if living comfortably, you can do it with 100K. And it's once again in a major city, right? Houston, San Diego, New York, Atlanta, Austin, Dallas, whatever the major city, right? And so let's start off by saying that you're single, and let's be generous and say your taxes are 20%. Okay, 20% of the 100,000 that you make, right? So that's just minus 20K from there. Okay, then let's say that let's just break it down and say that you are, now bringing in 80K. This is your take home, let's just say, right? So from your 80K, you have you have a house payment, right? Let's just say you're renting, okay, and you're renting in a major city and you want to live comfortably. You want to, live in a nice apartment that, has, covered parking so you don't have to get wet when it's raining, and, you have, a really good kind of, you know, safety and things like that, right? So let's just say you're lucky and you are spending, 2K for that a month. Okay. So out of that 80K, if you divide that by, let's just say you divide it by um, 12, you're bringing in about, let's just say 6,000, 6,000 a month, right? So you're bringing in about 6K a month, and you are paying 2,000 for rent. Okay. And you're living comfortably. Okay. And then let's just say that you have a car, right? You have a car that you purchase. It's a nice car. It might not even need to be new, but it's a good car that you don't have to worry about it breaking down a lot. But you do have maintenance on cars. You got to get oil changes. You have to, change tires, maybe change, you know, window wipers, things like that you have to do on cars. And let's say you don't live that far your from your job, so your gas is not horrible, right? But your car payment is $500 a month, and your gas is, because you got entertainment with friends and things like that, and but you live close to work, you have, say, $200 of gas. So I just say that's $700 a month, and we're just going to call it trans. We're just going to put a T here, transportation. Okay. And then let's just say you have food, and let's say you're someone, you live comfortably. You don't have to cook every night, but you cook. And I just say you're single. Let's say you spend, just for groceries, like having, cereal and, some sandwiches, or, some fruit, things like that, milk. I just say you spend, $100 a week. So $400. Okay. $400 on food. Okay. And then I just say, because you're single and you're dating and you're going out to eat with friends, and you are, you know, going to watch movies and you're going to concerts and things like that. You're trying to live comfortably, right? You don't want to just have to stay in your house because you do not have enough to be able to enjoy life. You're single in this case. So let's just say you're spending, um, let's just be modest and say you're spending $200 a week. So $800. I think it'd be more than that, but that's just, you can spend that on going out to eat on a date. But I just call that entertainment money, right? And then let's just talk about, you want to live comfortably, so you have to be able to save money, right? So what, how much you want to save? Well, you probably trying to, you know, max out your, 401k, things like that. And I haven't put, this is taxes. I didn't put that 20% is in taxes. So let's just say you're trying to save $1,000 a month, right? You're trying to live comfortably, having a safety net, things like that. We're going to call that savings. Okay. And so if we just add up these things, right? And it's a number of other things that we haven't pointed out, like clothing and miscellaneous things that come up, right? But let's just say you have after taxes, you have $6,000 minus the 2,000 for rent, minus the 700 for transportation, minus the 400 for food, minus the 800 for entertainment, minus the 1,000 for savings. So in this example here, you are still having about $1,100 afterwards, right? As a single person. All right. Not bad, but we're talking about comfortable, right? You don't have the bank of mom and dad, right? You don't get the start from having equity in your house. Most people in in places like San Diego, San Francisco, they have equity from parents, they have help from parents, they have equity that they've been in the house for a long time to be able to parlay that into another house or be able to even afford to be in their current house. If you made 100,000, you had a family of three, just another kid, think about childcare. This is eating into that. Think about more food. Think about more transportation. Most people think 100K is great for a family. It's not even great for a single person anymore. I know this is all relative and it's where you live at and things like that, but just a major city, being single, living comfortably is not what we think it is anymore or what we thought it was in the past. You can't live comfortably anymore off 50K, even being single. Even being single. So, what's the solution? Right? What is the solution? We think here at Dorian Trader that learning how to trade options strategically can help you outpace the cost of living, help you be able to live more comfortably. So this week, we're going to talk about a strategy called the covered call. And the covered call, you guys, is what we call here at the Dorian Trader the landlord strategy. Because if you have 100 shares in almost any publicly traded company, you can sell options against it. You can rent those shares out. It's called the covered call process. It's again, here at Dorian Trader, we call it the landlord strategy. Because you can rent your shares out just like a house. You can rent it out on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a quarterly basis. It all depends on how you want to rent out your house. You can literally treat it like an Airbnb. You literally treat your shares like an Airbnb, I should say. And that's powerful, right? We use the terminology, you can rent to own. You can give the person the ability to rent to own your shares. And you can do it on a weekly basis, like I mentioned, and be able to pay yourself some monies that you can take out to be able to supplement your lifestyle, to be able to make things easier on yourself, or to be able to build out your nest egg faster, your safety net faster. So last week we talked about doing cash secured puts on the SPY, and we said you needed $70,000 to be able to generate about $800 a week. Well, that's a real conservative process that you can do. The covered call is also conservative, but let's use a different underlining this week. So instead of the SPY, let's use the TQQ. The TQQ is a ETF that's 3 times the NASDAQ 100. And so a lot of times leverage ETFs get a bad rep because they have reverse splits, they underperform or what they're trying to outperform. But the TQQ has been around for over a decade, and it has outperformed the QQQ, the non-leveraged NASDAQ 100, for that entire time, over that period, for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, for the last 12 months. It is outperformed. Not 3 times, but it's outperformed enough that you should consider using the TQQ. And it's got enough history. And it's only trading for $54 a share. It recently split. A good split, right? A good split, not a reverse stock split, but a regular type of split. It's going for $54 a share. Let's just say you are one of these people that have some, a few extra dollars, but you're feeling tight, right? You're feeling tight. So last week I said if you had a $70,000, if you had that, now I'm going to say if you had just $10,000, if you had just $10,000, you can go in here and I'm just going to pick this 11-day. We have some stuff here, but we're just going to pick this 11-day. Normally it's going to be a week, every week, but let's pick this 11-day and let's do a covered call. So a covered call is when you have 100 shares, as you can see down here, and you sell a call against it. This is the call here. This is what we're selling against our shares, right? We're giving someone an ability to rent, to own. When you sell a covered call, the price that you sell your call at is where someone can take ownership of your shares, right? They can buy your shares from you at that price, but they have to pay you some monies for that. So in this example, let's just say you wanted to sell this at this 56 strike, and you're collecting about $123. Let's say you can do that on a weekly basis, and you collect at least $100 on a 4-week basis, right? A 4-week time frame. That's $400 at least on $10,000. Well, that's 4% in a month. $400. As a single person, right? As where we just broke down, that can be your gas for the whole month. That can literally be your gas for the whole month. So now that $400 that you were spending on gas can now go to savings. Now you accelerating your savings levels. Options can allow you to outrun the cost of living. You just have to learn strategies, safe strategies that we teach here at the Dorian Trader. This covered call is a part of what we call the safeguard strategy. You can do this on a weekly basis, collecting monies and still being able to grow your principal over time so that you are outrunning the cost of living. And so for time purposes, I can't break this down as the way we normally do, but we have a ton of videos on this process on our YouTube channel. Just go check it out. Subscribe to our channel, watch the videos, leave a comment. We answer all comments. Hit a like as well. Help support us that way. So this is the covered call that can help you outrun the cost of living. So to jump back over here, I want to point out that if you're interested in learning more from the Dorian Trader, have a YouTube deal for $60 flat amount. You can join our trading club for 3 months. After the 3 months, it's our regular discounted price of $125, but this is a great deal. Just use the code YouTube. You can see the link in the description area. It's DorianTrader.com. Use the code YouTube for our trading club. You get $60 flat fee to try us out. Now, some key takeaways here is that one of them, in my opinion, is that $100,000 is not what it used to be at all. You can just do a quick Chat GPT or Grok search and just do equivalent. How much is $100,000 in today's terms based on what it would have been in, let's just say, the year 2000. You'll see it's a significant difference. Your kind of buying power is a significant difference. I think you would, to be equivalent to 100,000 equivalent in the year 2000, now in 2026, I think you have to have like 188,000 you need to be making to have the same type of buying power 100,000 gave you 26 years ago. But we all still focus on this 100,000 number because most Americans still don't make that. Most households still don't make that. Just think about that. That is sad. It's really, really difficult for a lot of households out there, a lot of families out there, just to make ends meet. We just broke down someone that's making 100,000 that's single. And I've probably left out a ton, I did left out a ton of kind of expenses that you have to do on a monthly basis. And it was still tight. It was still tight. You need a way you can count on to be able to outrun the cost of living. Because inflation is probably going to stay around this 3% level for a while. Things are getting more expensive, and you don't want to make things more and more less comfortable for yourself and your family. So we're going to see you next week at the same time. We encourage you to put it on your calendar, and I promise we won't have these same issues that we did this week, next week, or going forward. We'll get this right. But the point is not being excellent at, running the show. The point is being excellent at helping you think about the process, helping you consider what you can do to outrun the cost of living. You have to be thinking about that because the safety nets are different in this day and age. And if you don't have the bank of mom and dad, if you don't have a lot of equity in your house, if you don't have a high income, you're feeling a lot of pain. And then high income is not 100,000 anymore. It's not 100,000 anymore. If you disagree, please put your comments and your reasoning why you disagree in the comment area. We'll love to hear it. We thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.